No charges will be filed in the case of a young girl who killed herself after being harassed online. The St. Charles County prosecutor in Missouri had been investigating whether any laws were broken when cyberbullying apparently led to the suicide of 13-year-old Meier. The teen thought she was falling for a 16-year-old boy online. Instead, he was apparently made up by another 13-year-old girl, her mother, and an older teen. Joining us now, MSNBC senior legal analyst and former Connecticut State Prosecutor Susan Filan. Do you think the prosecutor had anywhere else to go with this?
I think he sounded like such a conscientious, responsible person that if he did, he would have, but I think he felt that his hands were tied. It's just counterintuitive to me, though, that an adult can engage in this kind of behavior that leads to the suicide of a young girl and not be held accountable. It seems to me that either there are laws on the books that could have applied or there have to be. We've got to enact some.
Yeah, well, let's talk about there should be something on the books. I mean, is there something you can think of or you can see that might have been applicable?
Harassment, stalking, criminal impersonation, reckless endangerment. I mean, it just seems to me that perhaps the prosecutor didn't want to take that cyber leap in the courtroom and try to convince a jury that what could have been innocent, in other words, making up a personality, posing as somebody else, pretending to court them and then be mean to them, isn't normally criminal behavior. But there are other aspects to this case, which is simply that it's a mom, it's a grown-up, it's an adult who could have and should have known the consequences of her behavior. The mom apparently knew that this young girl was taking certain kinds of prescription medicines, which would, I think, suggest some kind of vulnerability that perhaps isn't in any other teen. I just can't see how she gets away with it.
And let me ask you finally, I mean, we've talked about this before, how sometimes, especially with new technology, it takes a tragedy for new laws to be enacted. Do you think that other localities, perhaps even states, will do what her town did, which is at least make this a misdemeanor in some way, directly prosecutable?
I think so. The trick, though, is to make sure that it doesn't violate the First Amendment free speech, that it isn't overly vague so that it's unconstitutional, unenforceable, and so that it isn't basically legislating a law that says it's not okay to be mean. It's illegal to be mean. We can't regulate conduct, although it would be nice if we could. It's got to be something more than that. It's got to be something that you do something like this, someone dies, you're responsible.
Okay, Susan, thanks.
You bet.